Hello, everyone. I'm doing a thing. And I know of the Genex. I haven't heard good things. I don't remember trying to use them ever because they didn't look cool enough for me to use. Let me put it this way. When I was a little kid and I played Yu-Gi-Oh!, I only used cards that I thought was cool, and I had an 80 card deck, which was the limit on Yu-Gi-Oh! Tag Force. So, yeah. I wasn't exactly a very smart player. I beat the final boss of that game by using Final Countdown and just stalling.
Alright, well, I'm gonna go stream then.
Alright, see you later, Fable. Have a good day.
Later, man. Bye-bye. Why? Oh dear. It fell. Oh no.
Anyway. Let's, okay, I need to exit this. But yeah, besides what I was going to say, we're going to head more into this and learn why it's called Legacy of the Worthy now with Genex.
It was finally time to fulfill my promise and reveal to you guys what exactly I consider the most worthless archetype of all time. It's Genex. I know it's not a very suspenseful or exciting beginning, but long story short, it's most likely the largest archetype I will ever feature in this series, so it's in my best intention to get it out of the way as fast as humanly possible. Okay then.
Wait, Genex was...
that by some devilish circumstance,
He's playing with Genex?
has won. Yeah, Genex has won. Through my 5,000 years, give or take, of producing Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos for YouTube, I haven't been consistent in many things. I feel like the one thing I could always pride myself on is the ability to admit a fuck-up. Despite researching and playtesting every archetype I cover on the show, there can often be some ruling mistakes or utility oversights that slip through the cracks and make me pull my hair out for years on end after the video comes out, even though I always make an addendum in a pinned comment, and also
I noticed that he was... Wait. I understand.
There can often be some ruling mistakes or utility that slip through the cracks.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's just the nature of Yu-Gi-Oh! We sometimes don't expect things to work how they work. It's, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very strange in that people just find out ways to make it work that was never intended. It's quite interesting. I'm not sure if that's unique to Yu-Gi-Oh! As a card game. I didn't really play any other card game. But other than that, I don't really know how to crack systems when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! That's me. What do you mean? The one that cracks the system?
And make me pull my hair out for years on end after the video comes out, even though I always make an addendum in a pinned comment, and also nobody actually cares that much. Or at least that's the case with Archetype Archive. Preceding this series, of course, was the much less alliterative Legacy of the Worthless, which was named that because at the time I thought unnecessary extravagance made things sound much more important than they are. Practicing probably picked up from the game itself. You can't name a card that and then make...
What was it? DDDD Super Dimension Sovereign Emperor Zero Paradox.
Get bad. Fact-checking, ruling research, and god forbid playtesting were but a distant thought in the early days of Lotwa, leading to occasional mishaps. Like disregarding the tops of Nordics and Worms, not even mentioning Red Resonator during Flame Wells, calling Contact a shitty movie for some reason. But most upsetting to me, approaching Genex from a completely skewed perspective. This was something I wanted to address for a while, and as they received a surprise batch of support recently, I thought it would be a good time for a sort of retrospect review. This is as much of a video about Genex as it is a video about Legacy of the Worthless Genex, so if all you care about is an overview of the new cards, you can just hop over to this timestamp. But I'll judge you for it. One constant that has definitely remained unchanged since the video came out, at least before the new support, is the archetype was never great. Mind you, I know we were all smitten, flabbergasted even, by the Quasar Brain synchro combos that Daver 35 steamrolled War of the Worthless with. However, this was mostly enabled by the efforts of Genex Recycled and Blastfan, the shining examples of my early combo oversights. Targeting a Genex in the graveyard with Recycled and hitting it with Machine Duplication, as well as the Blastfan search on Special Summon, usually in tandem with the former, all resulted in many fun plays, but most importantly, a very competent synchro board.
Oh no, I make shitty decks work. I know you do. It's why you like the Toon cards. Did. You liked them so much. And for some reason, the cubics. It is part of the like well, originally it was supposed to be DD was originally a different dimension. So if I remember correctly, DDD was different dark dimension. I don't know what DDDD stands for. Someone in the comments tell me.
Standards of this archetype. And that's about it. There are still several dozen Genex cards that did absolutely nothing noteworthy back then that I might have glossed over.
Wow.
There was no Duradark Control or Solar FTK, although there might be some in the coming days. Because it was a slow, inconsistent, and fragile synchro deck that
I will say, the mecha design of these two aren't bad. Or I should say robot design. Different, dark, no, it's not dark dimension difference.
Focus. Most of the things I said back then still apply, and even though the lack of acknowledgement of the deck's combo potential hurt its evaluation, the vast majority of their cards are still as bad as they appear to be and don't have much of an interaction with any of their better plays.
Well,
on the positive side, something I didn't give enough praise to was the original lineup's artwork. The synchros being based around different man-made energy conduits is cool by itself,
I did not know that.
Every piece featuring Genex controller or one of its offshoots is surprisingly gloomy and even emotional. I wish I had mentioned Final Gesture back then, because controller shedding an oily tear while taking the flower from the dying spare's hand is it's a little heavy for a boy, I'm gonna be honest.
It is kind of sad.
We'll actually get back to this in a few minutes. Now, the second line, our Genex, came with an old presumption of mine that Konami didn't know they were making a subpar deck. There's one later video where I say that sometimes a small set of bad cards comes out that could be considered, and I quote, an honest mistake by the developers. Oh, those silly developers. You'd know they had the best things in mind with Veacroids. Just that they probably got stuck in traffic that day, so they didn't have enough time to make them good. Well, I don't think that Konami is always 100% aware of how good a random card might end up being one day, as it's often up to the community to discover. They absolutely don't print out every archetype with the intention of being equally competitive. Genex didn't get 2 remakes because they were quote-unquote giving them another shot. They were simply support with a different teaming. Our Genex was based around rapid searching and synchro plays, more on that soon, while a bunch of Genex allies were meant to act as support for other dual terminal archetypes, leading to the last third of this video coming off unknowingly misinformed. I'm sure my frustration at mundanely bad card effects brought a lot of joy to all of you over the years, but I'd rather have the video been more accurate to what the archetype was actually trying to accomplish.
I can understand
weird
that.
And disjointed because they weren't meant to go into a dedicated Genex deck. Bellflame banishes shit from the graveyard because it's meant to go into Flamewell, hence the name. Birdman bounces back your monsters and gets a bonus if they were wind because it's meant to go into Mist Valley. Reliever is powered by
then why not?
So it fits right into Naturia, although the storyline states it was modeled after an X-Saber, which
I can kind of see that with the face and the crest right there, but it's a little weird to make them Genex when they're made to, well, work with other archetypes. You usually don't, usually archetypes kind of keep themselves, but like run in a few other cards.
I guess refers to the visual design. And in a similar fashion, Triarm got its wind and water teaming from Mist Valley and Ice Barriers, while its dark effect is clearly based on Allies of Justice, and Triforce got the earth and fire abilities from X-Sabers and Flamewell, with the
These are cool designs,
essentially being
I like them.
It's a neat group of interactions, and one of the first examples of an archetype having several lore connections to other ones, which is a concept that would get expanded over time.
Give me 1 second, I'm saving that art because I have ideas for it. This art is beautiful mecha greatness, and you're right. Genex Allied Why is it called Triforce?
It's a neat group of interactions, and one of the first examples of an archetype having several lore connections to other ones, which is a concept that will get expanded over time and remain a tradition to this day. As for how good these cards are in the archetypes they were meant to be splashed in, well, none of them really stand out. In fact, the first 2 effects of the synchros don't actually do anything to support the decks they're teamed around,
well then.
The rest of the Genex allies are about on the level of their designated archetypes at the time. The more generic ones with attribute shifting effects are simply a thematic remnant of the original lineup, so while there is a change of focus in this sub-archetype, there's not enough going on to really apply to the rest of the deck. In the end, none of this pertains much to the way Genex actually performs, which still annoys me because I would love an archetype that's vaguely based around Mega Man and attribute manipulation to actually
That explains the look of the blasters. I was wondering, I was like, in the back of my head going, is this Mega Man based? Because it's just like the shape of the body, you know? I'm not a Mega Man fan. I have friends who are, though. So I can kind of realize this. It's like when I say, yeah, I like Kamen Rider. I'm not like a huge Kamen Rider fan, but but I still like it. I'm not nearly as much of a fan as like 2 or 3 other fans, but yeah.
But the point is, they're at least more interesting than I initially caught on to. And just as we close the book on that 7-year-old story, a new chapter opens up out of nowhere. The Terminal World Booster Pack offered support for several dual terminal archetypes, one of which was Ice Barriers. Okay, maybe they are admitting they fucked up some of these and are giving them a third shot, and the other being Genex. The key card in this 4-monster support wave is the Link 1 Repaired Genex Controller. They made it work, fellas. Never say never. It's got 1200 attack, points left, requires 1 level 4 or lower Genex monster, and has the following effect. You can only special summon Repaired Genex Controller once per turn. If this card is Link summoned, you can add 1 Genex monster from your graveyard to your hand. Once per chain, if a Genex monster is added to your hand except by drawing it, you can, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 Genex monster. Also, you can now special summon monsters from the extra deck.
Let's go, Ice Barriers. I like the designs of Ice Barriers. I tried them once. I don't remember them being good at all. God, I need to get back into playing Yu-Gi-Oh, don't I? There's so many new archetypes that I just want to play for funsies. They probably aren't all that good, but damn it. I like playing Beetles and Ancient Gears. And, well, no one needs to talk about my Code Talker deck.
Except by synchro summon using a Genex tuner as material.
Great.
Knowing that our Genex with Ultimate Offering was the best play this deck ever had access to, Konami went out of their way to facilitate it with a monster that is, for all intents and purposes, a better Ultimate Offering. Any Genex in your hand, preferably a Searcher, but not the Searcher, results in an absolutely loaded synchro board packed with negates and interruptions. All you need to get it going is 1 copy of any of these 4, which you can then summon, make repaired, bounce back the monster with its first effect, which activates the second one, meaning you get 3 normal summons as long as you keep searching. And God knows that's the one thing they do. Once you search a tuner and get a synchro on the field, use any method of searching another Genex monster or bouncing back one you control to reset the effect and start the loop all over again. Keep it up until you achieve the desired amount of bullshit on board or an FTK. God, 1 card Genex FTK sounds like a bad joke, but no, it's just the future we live in.
Wow.
Flying cars, but Genex can burn you to death. On the other hand, the deck hasn't lived and died by 1 monster this hard in a while, so playing Genex in its current form is a very intense game of defend the castle, or at least defend the guy constructing it. This is why a good half of your build needs to be stuff that prevents interruptions, as a single Ghost Ogre to this deck might as well be a complete Exodia. I guess you could also say Repair doesn't really help out any other Genex playstyle, but this was the closest thing they had to a coherent one in the first place.
If it works, it works. You can't really complain if it works, can you? Well, like, you can laugh at it and be completely confused why it works, but if it works, it works.
As I don't think Konami considers Machine Dupe to be part of the archetype. It's refreshing to see a single card bring new life to an old deck to this extent, so run 3 while you can, before they find out if the FTKs can be more consistent and Repaired becomes disrepaired. Before getting back to the extra deck, we should take a look at their 2 new main deck monsters. Our Genex Turing is a level 2 Spellcast.
Really? What the hell?
600 attack and defense, and during your opponent's main phase, if you control a Genex monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon 1 Genex synchro monster. Do you hear that dog barking? He's a funny little guy, his name is Leo. He starts barking when I record videos.
Hi.
It's not annoying at all. It's rather charming. If this card on the field is used as synchro material for a Genex monster, it can be treated as a level 1 or 3 monster.
Okay.
Within the archetype, this has 1 purpose and 1 purpose only.
That
My god, straight out of the Genex Lumiere's garage, it's locomotion our Genex. Take it in, people, we ain't ever seen this one summoned since 1896. Good lord, I think he just took control of that man's wife. This archetype never quite had a real piece of interruption, so searching out Turing at the end of your turn while having a dark monster out that's level 6, 7 or 8 now means you have access to quick, non-targeting monster stealing.
Cool.
You need to know exactly what to snipe, as it only takes a monster with the highest level, but it's still a pretty unique form of control effect. It's a level 4 Water Aqua with 1700 attack and 1100,
I saw that.
but it's still a pretty unique form of control effect. It's a level 4 Water
I saw that.
unique form of control effect. It's a level
You can't stop me. I saw that.
a pretty unique form of control effect. It's a level
God damn. I'm going to get this.
with the highest level,
I'm going to
it's
get
still
this.
a pretty unique form of control effect. It's Water Aqua. It's a level.
Let me get this.
It's a level.
Screw it. Screw it. Screw it. Screw it. Never mind. I hate those clips.
For
Yeah, I
Water
hate this.
Aqua with 1700 attack and 1100 defense, and once per turn, you can banish one Genex monster from your graveyard. This card gains that monster's attribute, then if you banish the tuner to activate this effect, this card can be treated as a tuner this turn. If you control a Genex Synchro monster, you can target 2 Genex monsters in your graveyard, including this card, add them to your hand, also banish any card sent to your graveyard for the rest of this turn. This is simply an extender for the Synchro climbing you'll be spending 25 minutes on your first turn, turning them into a nice round half hour. The first effect isn't that important, as it doesn't add much to the deck, it can't already do by itself, unless you really want to summon Greydol Dragon in Genex. The second one is triggering in the graveyard makes the card a prime dumping target for the OG Undyne, where it comfortably sits while you make all your Synchro plays until you run out of Genex to add to your hand, which the card can then do for you and probably result in a few more negates. This effect also happens to not be once per turn, so if you can deal with your graveyard being Macrocosmos until the end phase, 1 or 2 Undynes along with the original are a very strong extension tool. And finally, going back to the Exo deck, we reach the apex of scientific achievement by mashing up 2 Allies of Justice together like Legos with all the grace of a psychotic toddler. Arms of Genex Return 0 is a level 10 Synchro machine with 3100 attack and 2950 defense, requires 1 Dark Tuner and 1 or more non-tuner monsters, and has the following effect. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish 1 monster from your graveyard with the same attribute as that monster, but a different one than those banished to activate this effect this turn, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. Once per turn, you can target up to 6 of your Genex monsters with different attributes that are banished and or in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then you can destroy up to that many cards in the spell and trap zone. I like how, despite this being an Ally of Justice related story inclusion, it isn't actually an Ally of Justice card, which is a trend I hope continues forever. That said,
Allies of Justice aren't good. They look cool, but they aren't good.
Never before has a card hit up to 6 negates, or 7 I guess, 8 even, with the condition of your graveyard and the effects the opponent is activating being equally colorful. You go through each of the main 6 attributes setting up your board, so Return 0 will always have at least 1 negate ready when the opponent's turn comes up. The second effect is amazing recycling that can easily enable even more synchro plays if you run out of resources, and it comes with some handy back row removal. You never know when that pesky gravity bind is gonna pop up.
There goes gravity!
This is a great boss monster and a fantastic addition to the synchro boards Genex are able to make, which is, once again, a sentence that does not feel real.
It's kind of strange,
though, for returning 6 Genex monsters to the deck, but being called Return 0. It's honestly so misleading. Oh, it's a programming reference? Sorry, I don't watch TV. Rating Genex in their current state is a silly endeavor because you're more so rating a synchro engine rather than a functional archetype as a whole. It's a consistent and versatile synchro engine, but it's also fragile and its evaluation depends solely on the
power, kinda a bit. Sure.
Generic hexadeck monsters you end up making. However,
So
the
strange.
fact that they're even eligible for being graded on a 5-point scale right now is a commendable rating by itself. Here's what that deck in question looks like.
Some decks don't even get that. Some decks are barely playable. Some I wish were good. We're not going to talk about those, but dear God, look at all these Genex.
Right now. You thought I was kidding when I said half of it is just generic stuff to prevent interruption? Nope, that's just how you play it. I know infinite normal summons seem fun, but trust me, unless you get a kick out of long and difficult...
Thread. I mean, that's why we have the Kaiju cards. Well, they're not called the Kaiju. But, listen, I like the Kaiju cards. I wish they were more usable than just using one of them.
To memorize combos that can branch out in a dozen different ways with each play, colloquially referred to as synchro masturbation, you can leave this one alone. If you want to pretend you're doing complex synchro combos, Red Dragon Archfiend exists. And
that reminds me, I do really want to play the Red Dragon cards because I heard Red Dragon Dragoon got, or Red Eyes Dragoon got unbanned.
The Saga of Genex.
I just love the design of that card.
Realization of wasted potential, or just a cocaine-infused band-aid, the fact is, most archetypes this old could only wish to be propelled so hard by such a small support wave. Although, to be fair, this is mostly due to a gameplay style which was already set into place by the Genex lineup 14 years ago, which was like an immaculate set of wheels on a car without an engine. I like how they achieved all this while still committing to the idea of zero back row, because honestly, at this point, it would just be ending a funny bit if you gave them any. You might scoff at the playstyle they were given with this for being too one-sided or making for long solitaire turns,
I mean,
but really that's just a synchro way of doing things. I don't know if Genex will get even more stuff in the future to vary up their options,
I hope
but
so.
Considering their past, there's really not much to complain about in their present. If anything, I feel like it's about time for Dark Scorpions to finally get something. Please.
Why?
With all that said, the
Dark
question
Scorpions
still remains.
are just silly and
what is
can't
the
do
worst
much.
archetype in the game? And unfortunately, it's a question with no easy answer because there's
way
always
too
many variables involved. The archetype
And also, there's way too many archetypes. There's way too many just basically given nothing and thrown to the wind by Konami.
Archetype's main gimmick, performance on release compared to now, intended gameplay style, individual good cards versus the deck as a cohesive structure, generic support or future additions, or hell, even just the semantics of the term archetype. No wonder the OCG refers to it with much less fancy words like team and series. The shit gets complicated. So
yeah,
really,
it does.
the answer to the worst archetype question is whatever you feel it should be. As long as you feel it should be Arcana Force.
I think Arcana Force has already gotten support. So I don't know about that, but what do you guys think? What kind of Yu-Gi-Oh cards do you like to play? I want to ask for down below because I'm actually curious what cards you guys like. Not just for playstyle, which give me the reason if you want to say playstyle, but like card art, because I feel like that kind of influences us on what we like to play. Rescue Cat. Honestly, Rescue Cat is what I imagine Big Mama Cat to actually look like in my head. But we don't mention that. But yeah. What's your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card? Mine is the Blackluster Soldier. But we don't talk about that. And, well, Ancient Gear Golem. But anyway. Thank you all so much for listening to my ramblings. If you want to listen to more of my ramblings on stream, check out the Twitch. Follow over there. That would make me so, so happy. They banned Rescue Cat. Aww. But yeah, come and join the community over on the Discord if you want to have a chance in you deciding what I react to next. Because guess what? I put them in a list, and sometimes I choose one from them, and we watch that. Anyway, thank you all so much. If you like hearing me talk, well, I already said the thing, so I'm not going to say it again. And I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.